Well, first of all, I cannot express, how happy I am and how blessed I feel like I am to be back here with Coach. He has given me an opportunity multiple times in my life to grow and develop as a football coach, and this is another example of that. For him to say to me that, when he called, the one thing that I asked him was, is there a chance for us to win a national championship? And if it is, then I'm interested. And he said, yeah, this is the one, that we can get back together and we can go into a university. He didn't tell me which one at the time, but we can go into a university that's set up for us to go after it and build us a program that can compete for it every year. So I just can't express how thankful I am, for the opportunity the coach has given me. Questions?
Could you talk about your offensive philosophy, Garrick, and kind of how that fits in also with Coach Freeman?
Well, it's a little different. I think most of the time when head coaches hire offensive coordinators, they have to have conversations on what's your philosophy on the red zone, what's your philosophy on third down, what's your philosophy in managing and teaching the coaches. Well, we didn't have to have that type of conversation. We've been together long enough now, me as a player, that I played for Coach, and then us coaching together, that there's only one way to coach this offense. Coach it very hard, very tough. We believe in putting a lot of pressure on our kids in the meeting room and on the practice field, so that when the pressure shows up in the game, they're comfortable in that environment. They really have to be students of the game and become what we call experts at their position. And that means not only studying themselves, but studying defense, studying the best at what they do. Studying the quarterbacks are going to have to study NFL quarterbacks that are at a high level, understand how their technique and fundamentals work, how they see defenses. So we just, at this point, in our career and our relationship, I think he understands that the way he sees running offense is the same exact way that I see it. And to us, that's the only way to run this offense. And I think that's why it's a fit, and that's why I think it works.
When you're a head coach, how tough is that decision-making process for you from being a head coach to being an assistant head coach, offensive coordinator? What are the different factors you weigh?
Well, the first thing that factors in is your coaching staff that you have there. Then you think about the players. And, what I try to do is educate the players, the ones that I talk to on the telephone, about decision-making. And that at some point in your life, you're going to be at crossroads and you're going to have to make a really tough decision, and you understand that that decision is going to affect people. And everybody's not going to like it, and emotionally it's going to be hard on a lot of people. But, you make decisions based on your family, you make decisions based on what's best for you and your career. And I think that, with the relationship that we have and the opportunity that we have being in the ACC, with us going into a playoff system, with where we are as a program here, that there was an opportunity for me that I just couldn't pass.
But also, being a head coach, everything that goes into only day-to-day. Now just being a head coach, how different will that be for you now back into that role?
Well, I was talking to someone the other day about it, and we were together before at Arkansas. There were 2 years when I was offensive coordinator, and they have the Broyles Award, which means a lot to us because of our relationship with Coach Broyles. But the first year I was a nominee. The second year I was one of the 5 finalists. And I think that based on what I know now as a head coach and being a head coach, to go back, I understand that this is what the head coach needs on a daily basis. And this is how you become one of the best assistant coaches in the country. So I just think that it was a blessing for me to get that opportunity. I want to thank everybody there that gave me the opportunity. I think they're headed in the right direction. But for me right now, I think I'm in position now, to be one of the top assistant coaches in the country because of my experience as a head coach.
There's only 125 FBS head coaching jobs in the country. They're hard to get. How hard was it for you to really step away from a head coaching job to go back to being a coordinator?
Well, like I said, when you start thinking about your coaching staff, when you start thinking about your players, that makes it tough. You're not necessarily thinking about yourself and your career, because when I started thinking about my career and my family and the opportunity to compete on this level and go into homes when you're competing for recruits with the best programs in the country. Those types of challenges I embrace, and I'm looking forward to going in because the expectations are high. We embrace those expectations not only out there on the field, but in recruiting also. So I just couldn't pass the opportunity to compete on this level.
So the chain-up said that you were watching practice film today. What'd you see out of the quarterbacks? Because obviously that's a big question on the offense right now.
Yeah, I see talent. We have talent. I've had the opportunity to meet with them. They are willing learners. They're very attentive. They understand how to go in the meeting room and open up their notebooks and really study football. So I've been very impressed with them. The last, over the weekend, we did just a lot of catching up, understanding each other, talking about their families, their brothers and sisters, just so that I can build a relationship with them before we start teaching them plays. And they're a really good group. They're tight. They're really good friends. You can tell they enjoy being in the meeting room together. But what we'll do here, when you have a player as, like Louisville had last year, Teddy, moving on, we're gonna just sit back and watch them and see which guy steps forward and becomes the leader. See which guy, we're not gonna push someone out there and say, you're the leader. We're gonna just sit back and watch and see who's gonna take charge of our football team, and see who's gonna organize things in the offseason, and see who can execute the offense the fastest.
How much
Coach,
autonomy?
Are you gonna call plays? What are gonna be your game duties?
Yeah, it's a very good question because most of the time, that's another part of our relationship that people don't quite understand. You see, I think the word coordinator means to actually coordinate the offense, which means make sure all the dots are connected, to make sure that the offensive line and the tight ends and the quarterbacks and running backs, the practice sessions run the same, that everybody has the same terminology, uses the same words, that it's all coordinated, everybody's on the same page. But our head coach is one of the best play callers in the history of college football. So my job is to lay the table for him, and so that when he shows up and opens up the play call sheet and starts dialing them, that it's gonna work how he wanted it to work. And I take the responsibility when they don't work. That's my responsibility. That's what coordinator means to me, and it's something that I learned. I was the head coach and I was the play caller. And I really did appreciate the guy that I had that accepted the role, and I taught him what my role was and what his role was. So now being back in that role, I really accept that responsibility, and I understand what it's all about.
You've known Bobby for a long time. How has he changed as a coach over the years? Has he changed, or is he still kind of the same?
Well, in regards to how he coaches football on the field, from the first day that we met, you could tell that his dad was a football coach. I think that's part of the connection that we had. My dad was a football coach. He really understands all aspects of football, how offense fits in the defensive philosophy. You just can't learn your offensive system and know. You have to be a defensive coach to understand how to really coach offense well. And I think that's, what separates him. He's constantly thinking about what's next and how is the defense going to adjust once we start doing this, and let's make a move before they adjust and stay one step ahead of them. And he's always been like that. I think that, the more games you coach, the more experiences that you have. So I think he's, way more advanced now.
As a coach at Birmingham, when Alabama and Auburn are playing at this level, are you banging your head against the wall?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Because you're in different conferences. But I am so excited about what we're doing right now and where we're headed. And I'm so entrenched on the recruiting that we have to get done this weekend, because now we're recruiting against guys that we're going to be competing against to win games. So I don't really want to spend much time talking about them. I'd rather talk about us, because we got a lot of work to do to get where we want to go.
How long is your contract? You get it.
Here? Well, I'm gonna do a really good job. And he's gonna be here. So he's not gonna get rid of me, because I'm gonna work my tail off, and the people I'm responsible for are gonna produce. And he's gonna be here a long time, so I'm gonna be good.
Is it five, did they give you a 5-year guarantee?
Really, our relationship's at a point where I didn't ask them any of that. That if you're going and you're gonna stay, that I've been a head coach now, I embrace being an assistant coach, that I'm gonna be with you.
You talk about how difficult it is to learn what you have, know what you have to recruit, and go out and try to do it and close. This week, the next 3 weeks will be a difficult time for you guys.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. It's tough when it's a transition. And the way the recruiting schedule is set up this year, that everybody's back's against the wall. Really, kids are only gonna get 3 weekends to visit, so a lot of kids are not gonna get 5 visits this season. So I think that, especially this year, that it is gonna be hard. That's why we're spending time, the staff spend time here this weekend, in the office, trying to make sure we're caught up on not only our roster and the numbers we have, but the recruits and potential recruits or guys that we should go after. So I think this year is a definite challenge because of the schedule.
What has been your first impression of the wide receiver corps?
Yeah, I think that it's top heavy. We have very good seniors to be next year. We're going to have a good recruiting class for the next couple of years because we've got some really good players, but they're upperclassmen. We have good young players, but the lead guys are upperclassmen, and I think that they fit into our system. We have ways to have outside receivers play inside receiver also, to flip formations and get guys playing different spots. But I think they're very talented, but we've got a lot of seniors.
What about at running back? What have you seen in terms of returning players, and what are you guys looking for now in the final couple weeks of recruiting at that position?
Well, that's I think I saw you ask the question about, honoring things, and we, our offense, we like to play a pro-style offense where there's some two-back in it. That's from our time in the NFL coaching. But a lot of our offense is one-back offense. And we've got, I think we've got 5 guys on scholarship now, which is a big number, for running back scholarships. So when you start trying to manage the roster, you start looking at the numbers, and I think that's what Coach was saying earlier. And once we looked at it, that our system, these are a lot of running backs. That we may not can carry 7 running backs on scholarship if we're going to be in one back a lot of the time. And that's what happens when you start, looking at your roster. But our kids are talented. We've had a chance to spend time with them this weekend. I really like them. We got size, and you guys know that because you were here when Michael Bush was out there running up and down the field, that big running backs move the chains. And we got one here for sure. So we're happy with where we are.
You thought about making, a final sales pitch maybe to Teddy?
Yeah, if he walks in here, yeah. I think I could get him too if he can.
What would the sales pitch be?
Well, first of all, let me say this. I've watched a lot of film on him, and based on what I see, I think he's ready. He's a very talented kid. You can tell he's under control. He understands his ability, his body. He never gets out of control. He has the ability to make all the throws on the move, on the run. And in the NFL, you have to make throws off balance because the defensive front's so good. So I think that, he's ready. Selfishly, it wouldn't be bad to have him on the team again. So I would talk more about a little bit more development.
How much input are you going to have in game planning?
Yeah, well, the way the game plan works, and teams that do it at a really high level, is that all the coaches have the ability and they have an understanding of the system where they can all say, what about this play on this against this look? Or in this formation, if they give us this pressure, we can advantage check to this and make it happen. And, our coaching staff that, at some point when our coaching staff is introduced, I think you'll see that most of us have an understanding of the system and that we understand how to make our system fit into the defense that we're playing against. So everybody has, a lot of creativity, a lot of input on the game plan, and coach makes decisions on game.
Isn't that very important? I mean, he's always had that system. I don't know if you had some guys who are familiar with it. You know what I mean? It's very important to have that familiarity.
Yeah, that's important because you want guys that you trust. And you want guys that, see it's the same system that's not going to branch outside of the system and come up with some other design. That, you know, in our system, it's multiple enough that we probably have that combination, but you have to find a way to present it that it fits within our system. That's why it's always gonna work, because we're never gonna move outside of the system. We have a way of doing things on and off the field, in the meeting room, on the practice field, and we're not gonna change it because it's worked.
So you said he didn't tell you what university it was. When he told you it was Louisville, what was your reaction? When you heard the news on your side?
Well, I think that, you know, nowadays with social media, the way it works, things start to leak out. You know, so I kind of, before he told me, I kind of had a feeling what was going on. But you know, I've watched the University of Louisville from afar for a while. Obviously, because they were here, Coach was here as an assistant coach before we got to Jacksonville. So I've watched, and I knew that Louisville was going into the ACC. And then, you know, they were 12-1 last year. So they have a lot of respect throughout the world of college football from all coaches all over the country. That this, at this point, is a big-time football program. We're going to recruit like it's a big-time football program, and we expect to run out there and play. Like that.
Would you have gone anywhere with Bobby?
The question was, do we have an opportunity to win a national championship?
Right.
And that was the question.
The coach you replaced was kind of a lightning rod even during a 12-1 season. Do you think that Coach Petrino will allow you to fly under the radar a little bit and not become a controversial figure?
Well, I don't know how to answer that, but I'm not interested in being controversial. I'm just interested in doing my job, you know, getting our offensive players and our offensive coaches to understand our system and execute our system consistently. Go out and recruit the best players we can possibly recruit, get our program and our team in position to go out and win the games we play.
One more for Coach.
What do you like about coaching with Coach Petrino?
Well, it's just that, first thing is, we've been together so long that I trust him. And when he calls me and says, this is what I would do, or this is how I think, I trust him. Because I was with him when I was 18 years old. I'm not gonna tell you how old I am now, but it's been a long time. But just the fact that you go in the meeting room and you really are competing and trying to be an expert at what you do. That if you're in the meeting room with us, you're trying to be the best offensive football coach in the country at your position. And that's the amount of pressure that he puts on you on a daily basis. You're either, every second of the day, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. That if you're just sitting there doing nothing, you're getting worse. So that type of environment, I feel comfortable in. That constant push of get better every single second of the day. Not only the players, but the coaches also. And I feel comfortable, and I think that is the philosophy that works.